Hello and welcome to episode 266 of the 77 Club. We've got something up where not even Harry, I'm so used to saying it. Jack has got the socials. How can you follow us on Bebo and MySpace, Jack?
Oh, I was going to say that. So yeah, we're available on Spotify, at Wolf77 Club on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Bebo, MySpace, Friends Reunited, and OnlyFans. Smashed it.
Oh God, it makes it seem so easy. Dan Bayliss is here.
Hello.
Jack, last game of the season at Molineux. We said it was probably going to peter out at 3-0 down. That was certainly the case. Before the game, though, we had the Players Player of the Season, which was Nelson Semedo. Mario Lemina got Fans Player of the Season, and Pablo Sarabia got Goal of the Season. I think most of us probably came out with those verdicts last week, didn't we? From memory.
Yeah-ish. So. I mean, they did the presentations after the game, didn't they? But I think the one that probably surprised me the most was, well, actually probably two, because from my opinion, I picked just Neto's goal against the Albion for Goal of the Season. I don't think it was better than Sarabia's goal. It was just the circumstances, which I thought made it my personal favourite. So, but I can obviously see why Sarabia's against Spurs was the winner, because it was the technically the best goal that we scored last season. And then Player of the Season, we were debating that last week, weren't we? It was quite a tricky one, because there's a few people in with the shout and no real standout player who's been incredibly consistent and stayed fit for the whole season. So I think Lemina is fair enough. I just think that his form has dipped a little bit towards the end of the season, and at crucial moments like that game against Coventry, I know it was playing a bit all over the place, but those sorts of moments made me think he might not get it. But fair enough. I don't think you can't stand up there and argue and say they've got any of them wrong. I think they're all perfectly justified. And it was nice that Semedo got the Players Player of the Season, because that shows that he has been he's been really consistently good this season, particularly defensively. Not so much on Saturday, but he was playing at centre back, so I think you have to let him off a little bit, because I don't want to see him play there again particularly. But overall, I think with the players that were called out, I think you have to say, yeah, fair enough.
Dan, do you agree with that? I think it's the first time in a fair few years where the fans and the players of the season haven't been the same. So they've sort of had to split it a little bit. But can you grumble?
No, I think it's all absolutely fine. I think Smedo's been superb all year, so there's nothing to grumble about there. I think Wolves in general, Goal of the Season, I could sort of have some arguments. A few. I thought the way Cunha took his one at the Albion was superb. So
that didn't even make the shortlist, though, did it? So
no, which is a bit weird, isn't it? But yeah, all in all, I'm happy enough with it.
In terms of performance, Jack, I think shambolic first half. And where'd you go from there? I mean, like you say, it was a bit of a mismatch when it came to the actual starting 11 itself.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't start too badly, I don't think. It was kind of one of those where we were in the game. Palace were in the game too, but we didn't start particularly badly. But just overall in the display, just really poor defending, I think, at key moments. And I said just obviously Semedo playing out of position, and I don't think that's where we don't want to see him at centre-back again, really. And it just shows, again, the point we've made in many weeks prior, that we just don't have the personnel at the moment. Mentally, it does seem now that like some of these players might be on the beach. But it's an annoying one, because we've seen what Palace have done lately. Everyone's seen it. It's been there on prime time against Man United just the week before. And we knew they're going to be, quick, dangerous and physical with us. And at key moments, we just weren't prepared for it. And if you look at the goals we've let in, you can point to just like the mistakes surrounding all of them, really. Like the first one, it's a great strike, don't get me wrong, but you can't let him in on his left foot, can you, to hit it like that? You need to do more. And then rightly, I think after that kills any little momentum we had. And for the rest of the first half, we were just poor, to be honest. But we got a reaction in the second half, and albeit after going 2-0 down, got back into it. The fans helped, and Cunha got his goal, which we thought was going to be ruled out by VAR, but actually went our way, that one, in the end. And then the really frustrating thing for me is it's 2-1. We're back in that game. Last chance to go in front of the fans and attack and try and get something at home this season. we have a good chance with Hwang, which everyone watching it thought that Hwang had messed it up, but their player got a touch in it, didn't he? And then a few minutes later, we're just dead because we've shambolic defended again. They've made it 3-1. And, you know, I know Kilman was left a little bit isolated, but he just looked out of his depth for most of the afternoon, really, against them. And rather than actually try and make a tackle or do anything, just sticks his hand up for a player who's about 3 yards onside. So what do you do about it, really? His form, I think, is something we need to look at, because since we said it again, but since January, and coincidentally since Dawson's not playing alongside him, I think there's issues there, and there's just things been creeping in, you know, not just around him, but, you know, sometimes we've been trying to play out from the back and stuff, that it's just been too many silly mistakes, and that we weren't really seeing with the way we were setting up defensively in the first half of the season. So it's a concern, and I think it's an area that does need investment going into the close season now, because, well, for one, if we're playing 3 centre-backs, we need to have 3 centre-backs at the club. So at the moment, we just got 2 shoehorned in there because the rest are injured. So, yeah, I think it's overall a very predictable result, but it's just annoying that the fight back just was over before it began, because we just folded straight away after that.
Dan, I think a couple of fans are saying that we look very disjointed, lacking a bit of inspiration, looking clueless at times. And we did say last week, I mean, no particular prizes for guessing this, but we said Elise, Eze, Mateta were the ones to look out for, obviously all getting a goal, and Wharton getting an assist as well, as Elise getting one for himself as well. Do you think it is cause for concern? Because I think there's a couple of comments in the comment section last week sort of saying, you know, this isn't the sort of form that you want to be carrying into a new season, or do you think that, you know, injuries have had their way with it?
It's 50-50 in my opinion. I mean, when was the last time we won a game? A league game? And a cup game.
Luton, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which one win in 1, 2...
Is it 10 now, or 10 or 11?
It's 10, yeah. Which is incredible.
Last one was Fulham at home on the 9th of March, other than Luton.
So, I mean, where do you think you go from here? Because, I mean, Gary O'Neill came out after the game and said, you know, we beat ourselves, really, and then said that we haven't really been able to play our front three for most of the season. And do you think he's got a point? Do you think it's just bad luck, or is it just bad planning, or what do you think it is? Because, I mean, if we'll probably go over what our predictions were for the season on next week's episode after the game against Liverpool, but I think we were all sort of, I'd have snapped your hand off at 17th. So, I mean, things are looking rosy in that case. But, you know, there was talk of Europe and potential trip to Wembley on the side. Does it leave a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth?
A little bit, but he wasn't supported with cash. We couldn't spend.
Yeah.
So I think he's got to be allowed to build his own team over the summer. We need to retain as many players as possible. So that's up to the club to keep the likes of the Netos and Cunhas and top players at the club. But if we bring in 4 or 5, a couple more backup players, we're probably in a good position. You know, at times we played fantastic football, and the results dipped off when we lost really important players at bad moments. So it's not like in the Lage era where we just were crap at the end of the season. This is, we haven't been great, but there are sort of other reasons at play that you can use to... They're excuses. We should be a Premier League outfit that can go on a pitch and compete at the Premier League level. But it's not all the manager's fault at this point. So,
I mean, when it comes to poor ends to the season, I think, you know, last season's a prime example, Jack. I think you and Bayliss probably went to both of those games, with the Arsenal game and then and obviously the Brighton game as well. Huge defeat. So I suppose in that sense, year on year, you can see some slight improvements.
Yeah, I didn't make it to the Arsenal game because I went out the night before till very late and just thought, screw this. And it was a great decision in the end. But just a hungover mess on the sofa instead. But
we were right second half at Arsenal. We could have nicked something there.
What, last season? We lost 5-0.
Oh, sorry, the 5-0. I thought you meant this season. Sorry.
Sorry.
That, sorry. I thought you meant this season.
Either way.
Just small moments in those games. But I think the reason we've got so much patience now is the fact that, one, we're comfortably safe. I
Yeah.
totally agree that I think this is a missed opportunity, A, for Europe, and definitely at least for a Wembley appearance in an FA Cup semi-final. But you just got to look at Gary O'Neill's hand, and there's a pattern now emerging with not just Gary O'Neill, but previous managers as well under Fosun, where they're not backed, and then the squad's too small. And if you're going out and you're going to play an informed Premier League team, and you're playing players out of position just to get the formation out that you want to play, there's an issue. There's an issue there, particularly when you haven't just had, you got two centre backs out, and then you can't field a team. That's the sort of issue that just wouldn't happen at some other clubs. So you can't really put it too much on Gary O'Neill. I agree. I think we should have picked up probably more points than we have in this last run of 10 games. It's difficult when we're safe and got nothing to play for on paper, but still for a bit of pride, I'd like to have picked up more. But I don't think you can really just start pointing fingers at anyone but Fosun until Gary O'Neill has had a full pre-season, got some players in that he wants and actually some backing, and got at least cover for every position. So we're not going to be in this situation again, rather than trying to work with a squad of 13, 14, first team players and then being surprised that a couple of injuries snowball and your season's over.
Generally, except for when we did it, generally the teams that make Europe and do well are those that can bring in the odd player on rotation and are always getting consistent performances. Whereas we've had 3 injuries at a bad time, and that's wiped us out, essentially. I mean, we've gone into recordings on a Wednesday having no idea what the starting 11 could be on the Saturday, which is, if you talk to West Ham fans or, I don't know, Brighton fans or whoever, they go, oh, yeah, well, he took a knock, so he comes in. This is what they do. So, yeah, I've got a bit of sympathy for him, but I will be livid if on August the 10th or whatever, Wolves haven't brought in some reinforcements.
Yeah, I mean, Gary O'Neill was having sort of a nod to Monday rather than August as for things to get going, but we'll see about that. Jack, a couple of minutes for Enzo Gonzalez. Obviously not really much time to see him do anything, but I think it does that show that he's a likely make that likely transition towards the first team during the close season.
He looked like he tried, which I suppose you would do for your Premier League debut, even if you've only got to come and run about for a few minutes. But he got stuck in. That's all you can really say, really. But you noticed he was there, which is a good sign. So yeah, we'll just have to see, really. But that's definitely going to be one for next season rather than this, I think.
Let's have a look to Liverpool now. I suppose we don't really know what's going to happen in this one either. I mean, it is Klopp's farewell tour coming to an abrupt end, and maybe Liverpool's season, aside from the League Cup, has petered out somewhat, Bayliss, because the quadruple was on, I suppose, at one point, and then that sort of just petered away. Wolves have had an opportunity to go to Anfield and ruin the party in previous seasons, and it's not happened. So what do you think is going to happen this time around? It's going to be a little bit of a different atmosphere, but more of a party atmosphere, but obviously for what Klopp has done for Liverpool rather than what they're going to do in the league. Yeah,
I mean, there aren't many Wolves fans that have seen Wolves lose at Liverpool, win at Liverpool. We're in here. I think we're one of the few.
Yeah, 2010. Yeah,
it could be a massacre. It really could be, because they are going to put in a performance because it's his last game. And what I saw of us against Palace and a few games recently, we really could be on the receiving end. Another 5-0 would not surprise me in the slightest.
Jack, are you a little bit gutted that you couldn't sell your ticket for 10 grand from Scouser?
Yeah, a little bit, but then it's one of those, isn't it? Because if they were in the chance of having a league title, then yeah, there'd have been people requesting tickets everywhere, wouldn't there? But the problem is, like, if you sell your ticket in the away end to a Liverpool fan and get caught, you'll get bloody banned for God knows how long, wouldn't you? So it's just not worth it, really. Anyway, so but I'm sure they'll want to give him a good send off, and I agree. That's why I'm probably worried about this. Is they'll be playing for the manager for that emotional farewell, and mentally, as we've seen, I think half of our squad are either on the doctor's table or on the beach mentally. So it doesn't fill me with hope at all, really. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Especially, you have to look at the bigger picture and just say we have to go again next season. But if we don't address these issues that we're seeing with regards to squad numbers, it's going to be a difficult season for us.
And Dan, a couple of people were sort of highlighting Sar's absence from the Palace game, and I think he sort of had a similar thing last year. I think where do you think he's feigning a bit of injury and getting on the plane when he should be on the doctor's table? They're sort of going to check him in, and he's not there. He's sunned himself in Portugal.
I don't know. There's been rumours about him moving away as well, getting a Saudi deal on the sort of.
Yeah, I saw some rumblings along. Yeah, that would probably be the most likely move for him, I imagine. But yeah, I suppose Dan Bentley would be taking it on again. Do you think that there's going to be any other surprises? I mean, there's not many more people that he can sort of bring into the fold. I mean, apart from maybe an appearance from Noah Lemina and getting the brothers involved.
Yeah, just got to wait to see how it pans out. I mean, we can sit and talk about the Liverpool game, but it's a dead rubber. They've got nothing to play for. We've got nothing to play for. All it is Klopp's farewell day, so it'll be a resounding Liverpool victory. There's not really much more to dig into it, is there?
Give us a score prediction, Jack.
I don't think it'll be that bad, just because it never usually is. So I say that, but obviously City was pretty bad. But it'll be something like 3-1, something like that.
Dan?
4 or 5-0.
4-5-0. Wow, I'd probably go along the 3-1. Have you got some bets for us, Dan?
I haven't actually. Wolves are a very long price to win it. Liverpool are 7 on. Take from it what you want.
Should we just talk about the wider Premier League, and given it's the last day of the season? I know there's a couple of games going on now, but in terms of the title, did any of you watch any of the Spurs game last night? And
yeah, so I wanted to ask you that actually, and probably feeds into that wider conversation of who we think will win the league. And I just wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, the Tottenham fans seem to be split down the middle, really, of hoping they lose just so they don't potentially hand Arsenal the title, but in the process throw away any chance that they had of getting into the Champions League and handing it, annoyingly, to Villa. And I can almost... that happening makes me side with the Spurs players a little bit more than I probably normally would.
I did have a cheeky fiver on the draw because that would have been the most Spurs thing possible. Because the draw would have handed the title to Arsenal and they still wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League.
That is very Spursy. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So I wanted to get your view on it, though. I'll start with you, Bayliss. If you were in this situation, I think it's got to be Albion. If they're gunning for a title, for a Premier League title, and Wolves have the chance to go into Europe. I mean, we can keep Villa in the equation because that makes it even more interesting. But whose side were you on? Because post-match, Postecoglou was absolutely beside himself. And during the game, actually, shouting at fans, going, this is why you never win anything.
It's probably true. Hopefully it's a predicament that I never really have to think about properly.
It'd be great to be.
But hypothetically, I don't know. I would hate saying that I'd want Wolves to lose a game on purpose, but
do you think you'd be in that position, Jack? Do you ever think you'd think, oh, I know, I really want to lose this game to spite my rivals, even though it puts any chance of Champions League football?
See, but Champions League football for Spurs was still a long shot anyway, I think, wasn't it? Really, so it was still out of their hands.
Villa have got to go to Palace though.
If there was nothing on it, I'd have been cheering every time Man City touched the ball. If I was in that situation last night, to be honest, and it was going to stop Albion winning the league, 100%. The fact that an outside chance of Europe would make you think twice, but I still think if it stopped Albion winning the league, that would just be funny in itself. Wouldn't you? You can laugh about that for years.
Did you Did you notice that a lot of Tottenham fans were wearing their sort of sky blue away top?
Yeah, because they've got a half white,
or third, or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
That was quite funny.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I suppose, like Dan said, really, I mean, you could end up in a situation where you do Arsenal a favour by getting a result against Man City, and it's still not being enough. So, I mean, I don't know where you sit on that. I personally think, as a neutral, it is a small club mentality to be cheering when a goal goes against you if you're in a stadium.
Yeah.
True. And to be fair, I watched the game last night and I just put it on, obviously, just because it's entertaining more than anything and just to see how it panned out. And I was expecting there to be a lot more say of the fans and everybody sort of wanting their team to lose, but they got quite into it and they got up for it. And when you're there in the stadium, I think it didn't matter. They weren't thinking about the sort of knock-on effects that this result could have. They wanted to get something from the game, and I think that sort of happens when everyone comes together. They start to galvanise, and at the end of the day, you want your team to do well, so you have to sort of start backing your team and backing the players more than anything, especially when they are putting in a half decent performance against the best team in the league. So yeah,
let me give you another hypothetical then. Let me give you a more realistic one that could happen. Say the Albion come up, and next year with a couple of games to go, Albion and Palace, like Saturday, we're scrapping it out between 18th and 17th, that sort of region. Would you cheer Palace scoring if it was going to send the Albion down?
Oh, fucking yes, 100%.
Okay, no, I get it now. Yeah, no, I get it. I completely understand. I've changed my mind.
If we were safe and had nothing to play for, and us losing would send Albion down. Yes, definitely. Yeah. I don't know if anyone disagree with that in the comments, but yeah. If we had nothing to play
okay. So actually, just to carry on that, so take half of Dan's theory situation there, and put the we'd have to win to get into Europe. So we'd have to. So you would.
It changes everything, yeah. Because I want a few more holidays in Armenia or God knows wherever, to be honest, and that's just me being selfish. So if we had something to play for, and then that would be a realistic chance of Europe, then that's all out the window. If it's a nothing game like it was on Saturday and losing us make sure Albion get relegated, then
no problem.
Just all sit down on the floor and play blindfolded or something, whatever, doesn't matter. Like,
so obviously City took the points at the new White Hart Lane. Does anybody not think that Man City will win the title?
I think they will, and I hope they do. I don't want Arsenal to win, to be honest. Just because in recent years, like, we've had some nonsense with Arsenal fans coming out their ground, and then they're just a bunch of dickheads. So, yeah, that's my personal opinion.
I would tend to agree with you there. I mean, did it feed into the narrative? I know Mark Goldbridge, Dan, has been doing a lot lately of how boring the Premier League has become. It's become a farmers' league. He was quite all right with Manchester United being on top for a large part of the late 90s and early noughties, but that seems to have shifted there. Do you think it's a farmers' league?
No, that's classic. That is the most Man United fan attitude to anything ever. What a hypocrite. The reason he's a Man United fan, where's he live? Like somewhere in the East Midlands?
No idea. I don't know.
Nottingham, I think he's Forest.
Yeah. So he became a Man United fan because they won it every year. And now that another team wins it every year, he doesn't like it. So he can get the bin.
No, I agree. So we think Arsenal, no chance. I mean, they've done well, haven't they? They've done quite well to push City all the way, and it seems that there's always someone there to push them and get the best out of them. But I don't think there's much of a difference really between. It's not quite Ligue 1, but it's not quite La Liga, is it?
So the last day.
It's not the same two teams going every year like La Liga. There's I don't know. Maybe it is similar. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I still think it's good. It's competitive. I mean, I hate to say it, but look at like Villa this year and Newcastle last year. They've broken into Champions League places, so that's entertaining. And this season everyone was saying it's a three-way title race up until when Liverpool fell away in the last few weeks. So I still think it's competitive. It's not like that at all. And it's still definitely entertaining. I know Man City are the best team, and they always seem to do this thing where they give everyone a chance in the first half of the season and then go on a 10-game winning streak at the end just to win it, which is just, a sign of just how good they are, really. But so you have to just say fair play to them. But I think they'll win it. And,
one thing, I don't think it's a farmers' league, but the only sport I can now compare it to a little bit is Formula One, which I can't stand. I don't watch it, but I've got friends that like it. And it's sort of like Verstappen wins all the time, right? He's the champion. He has been. He will be again because he's got the best car and all the money. So he's Man City.
Yeah.
And because I don't like F1, I can't understand why I'd watch the sport, because it's just a load of cars driving around and then one bloke wins it every week.
Mm-hmm.
But people that love it sort of get the intricacy and the teams and the tactics of it. And someone that came fourth shouldn't have, or, has done better than they should have. So that's like us with football.
Yeah, I mean, with F1, I suppose you've got the Constructors' Championship as well. So you've got sort of like a little side league going on.
Like the Champions League.
Because really, I mean, do you follow? Yeah, do you follow teams or do you follow drivers? I'm not really sure how it works with F1. Whether if you're a Hamilton fan, then you'll follow him around wherever he goes. If you're a Verstappen fan, then you follow him around wherever he goes. Or yeah, you could try and follow him. What about? I mean, the interesting thing. I mean, we're talking about Spurs and stuff. The race for fifth, really, because Chelsea are 3 points behind Tottenham in sixth, and their goal difference is better. So, if Tottenham lose the final game of the season, then they could fall out to sixth, and Chelsea could well pip them to fifth, which is just incredible when you think of the hammering that Pochettino's had this season.
And Chelsea are beating Brighton at time of recording.
Yeah, that's what I'm going on. So, yeah. The big one that everybody wants to talk about, though, Premier League clubs will vote on whether to scrap VAR from next season at their annual general meeting next month. So it was all started by Wolves, who formally submitted a resolution to the Premier League, which will trigger a vote when the 20 member clubs meet in Harrogate on the 6th of June. The club said that VAR was introduced in good faith, but has led to numerous unintended negative consequences that are damaging the relationship between fans and football. We've had it for 5 years now. It seems a lot longer just because it seems to just prolong my weekend misery. Jack, do you think that it will be scrapped? I don't think I don't speak to any football fan, I don't think, who likes it. It's whether you're a big club or you're a smaller club. Everybody says, oh, it's out to better the elite, and the elite are saying the same thing. I don't understand it. I found that you were finding yourself agreeing with Steve Madley of The Athletic, which is a situation you don't really find yourself in very often.
Yeah, just starting off there, you've made the one mistake in what you said, in that it's not necessarily about the fans. I don't think it's never really been about the fans. I think there's other stuff going on. Firstly, I think I'm really pleased with my club for doing this. I'm glad that we're the ones who appear to have tabled this to be a debate. I know us and Nottingham Forest as well, and some others have had some terrible calls this season. So it's nice to see us actually trying to put up with something and change it. So I'm glad that our team seems to be leading the charge there, and I'm proud of that. The initial reaction, though, from what you've seen is that there's a group of people who are just saying, yeah, get rid of it straight away. And those tend to be the people who actually go to the games. Those are the season ticket holders, the members, the ones who regularly go and attend football matches. But the majority of people in the comments in response to this are saying, oh, no, you don't scrap it. No, you can't scrap it. It's just the way it's being used, blah, 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 blah. And those are the people who then have their name and have a flag of God knows what country after it, because they're overseas Premier League fans, from what I've seen, from my experience. So there's going to be a big divide here, I think. And the armchair fans, the sofa fans, the overseas fans are mainly going to be in one bucket. And the people who actually go to the games, I reckon if you did a survey of all Premier League season ticket holders, the result of people who want to scrap VAR or at least reform it heavily would be, 90% plus. But I don't think that's a narrative that's going to be put out there. I think they'll spin it in a way and say, oh, only 40% of Premier League fans actually want it gone, but fans being everybody in the world rather than the actual people who attend the matches. But fair play for the statement they put out, because I can't disagree with any of it. They've made some great points. I don't think anybody reading that who's actually been to a football game in the last few years and experienced some of the nonsense that we've all sat through could go through those points and say, oh no, I disagree with that. So I think they've done it well. I don't think it'll get through. It needs 14 votes out of 20.
14 out of 20. So it needs a 2/3 majority, like any good referendum, to make any sense. Dan, can you think of 7 teams that are going to vote against the motion, though? Because I can't think off the top of my head who they would be.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
You think so? So who would the 7 be then that disagree?
Man
7
City,
at the top
Arsenal.
of the league.
Yeah, the 7 at the top of the league. Villa, Newcastle, because they're all still getting the money. I think the sad thing is, right, is that we love the sport and we go and watch the sport. And I think people that sit at home and watch it on telly love the sport because the excitement is watching 22 of the most talented athletes in the world play an exciting game. And you don't know the outcome, and that's what it is. Whereas what it's turned into is 22 of the world's best athletes and one usually balding middle-aged man watching a small television screen on an arm or a purple screen. And essentially, the excitement of the sport is now it's now come down to what does this balding middle-aged loser think of a television program that he's got his other balding middle-aged fat ugly mates in the ear of going, oh, well, I'm not sure about that. Oh, quick, draw the line. Well, they're losers, aren't they?
Oh, I don't know if you're talking about VAR then, or the Russian army. Just think, but it's a good, it's a good point. I mean, I don't think I can't think of any team that has done well off the back of it. I mean, the most glaringly bad one isn't even the Wolves one I can think of this season, and that was the Liverpool game. So Dan's, I think, annoyed half of the people.
Dan's offending everybody in the comments tonight.
Offended all the balding middle-aged losers.
Sorry. Especially people who live in Sheffield by the looks of it. I don't know what you've done, Dan, but you've done something wrong.
Something's happened. This is what happens when Harry is ill.
It's only about 5 or 6 years. My hair will all go. So.
It's quite interesting. I saw a video today from Tifo Football, quite a good TikTok channel. And it was just about how much it's actually worth of where you finish in the league. So it's about £2.5. We know it's about £2.5 million a place. You get a roughly, this is based on last season's figures, £79.2 million for your broadcast rights. So everybody gets that. And then you get a utility fee on top of that, which is 900 grand a game that gets televised. So a little bit extra on top. And obviously the better teams, or the more exciting teams at least, will obviously get more of those payments just because they're on TV more. Then there's a merit payment alongside it as well, which is built into the previous league table, I think. So they only had City's figures, but £62.3 million for City on their merit payments. So first place in the Premier League got 220 million last season. So Man City got 220 million for winning the Premier League. And that's obviously not including Champions League, which is, of course, they were in as well. I was doing some figures, and I reckon we are probably, if we finish as high as we can this season, probably looking at about between 110 and 120 million. It's not a lot, is it?
Money.
Is it? Do you think it is really?
That's everything, though, isn't it? That's not just for your prize money. Is that the whole package? Okay.
No, that's just prize money from the.
I didn't think it was that high.
So it doesn't include like season tickets and merchandise and whatever, which I imagine for Wolves isn't massive anyway, to be honest. There seems to be a sale on every 5 minutes to get rid of the kit. So
I genuinely think in the summer, once we get some transfer rumours going, we need to get the finance guy back on and understand what we can spend and how it works again. The conversation was so interesting about FFP that we need to know where we now stand and what we're doing going forward.
Yeah. We're going off VAR a little bit here, but that links in with something I was expecting to see this week, which hasn't yet come, and that's the season ticket price increases.
Yes.
So we can do the reaction to that next week. So I think it's imminent. I think it will be at some point this week. It's already later than it was for the end of last season. But back on the VAR point, I've got a lot to say to that, because obviously it's been what we've talked about on this podcast most this season. And I remember we had an episode of few weeks back where we tried to pick out what were the 5 worst decisions we've had VAR related that have gone against us of all time. And I think 4 out of 5 of them were against Liverpool's and Man United's and Man City's. That's 3 of them straight away. Just popped back into my head immediately. It was in the wake of obviously our goal being disallowed against West Ham late on.
Yeah.
So straight away there, that's 3 of the teams that we've called out for the ones who probably were benefited from it the most, because all it does is you're just seeing what would normally be bias and unconscious bias happening in real time. And when it's one of those teams, they look for a reason to give a decision. When it's against one of those teams, they look for a reason to why they can rule it out. And it's just completely inconsistent. And we haven't spoken about this because I think it broke in between podcasts and after the City game. But going back to the game away at Man City, the first penalty incident where Ait Nouri came in, and we were all watching that in the pub, weren't we? And we said straight away, I don't think it's a penalty. They looked into it, the referees board, and they came back, and this is the just the epitome of what is wrong with the whole system. Is they came to the verdict that that call was wrong, it shouldn't have been a penalty, but VAR was correct to not do anything about it. That's the level that we're at now. It's like, yep, we agree, we got that totally wrong, but bloody hell, pat on the back, lads, because we were right to not do anything about it. That's the stupid realm that we live in.
Even makes sense.
So how is it even a debate that we're saying just get rid of this, get rid of the morons, get rid of the bias, just go back to allowing us to at least be able to celebrate a goal, and you take one glance to the offside flag, and fair enough. Actually, not even that. I don't mind if they bring in automated offsides and keep goal line technology and those sorts of aspects of it. Fine. Just get rid of the morons. Get rid of the people making these decisions who walk over to the monitor and say, go and look at this. Go and look at this. We slowed this down. Oh, yeah, he's offside now by even though he's not active in play and all this nonsense. Just automate it, let the game flow, and let's enjoy football again. Because if they do get this through, it's a massive change. It's a change for the positive for the people who actually go to football games, in my opinion.
And there was the Wolves 1877 Trust had done a survey of 800 Wolves fans. 67% said VAR in its current format would impact their decision to attend games next season. 19% said it wouldn't. Around 13% were unsure. I mean, that just says it all, really, isn't it? I mean, there's 2/3 of, I know it's not the biggest sample in the world, but it's still a good chunk of people who are saying that it's impacting whether they will actually go to a game, Dan.
Yeah, totally. I think if you went to every fan that has a season ticket for every Premier League club and asked them, do you want to keep this? It'd be a resounding no. Like a proper resounding no. Yeah. I think that's probably the fairest way for them to do it, to be honest.
And the same survey, just to tie it in with what you said there about season tickets, 25% said any increase at all would be unacceptable. Almost 9% said they would attend games regardless. So, you know, it's creeping up, isn't it, Jack? The amount of people that are, VAR's making them think about going again. If you couple that in with potential price increases, and there's nothing to suggest that I can see, especially given the previous seasons too, that there won't be season ticket prices incoming as well.
Yeah, I've seen so many posts, not just from Wolves fans, but you know, on Twitter, Facebook, from other fans, and VAR has just massively taken the enjoyment out of what was, that was the unique selling point of the product, wasn't it? It's going to a football game, and that moment of euphoria you get when you score what might be a last-minute equaliser, or a winner in a key game, these sorts of things. And now you can't do that anymore, because all you're thinking is, oh, he looked onside, but you never know. You never know these days. You've got to wait, and that joy is sort of spread out, and potentially taken away 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes later, depending on how incompetent they all are. So it's baffling that they brought something in, and I understand with the technology now they had to do something, like the real extreme cases of mistaken
goal line's an easy one,
those
right?
Sorts of things.
Yeah.
I understand why they had to do something, and in some areas it's worked well, but when it was brought in and sold to us, it was just supposed to be for like real clangers and not about drawing lines on pitches at weird angles and saying, oh yeah, that's definitely offside, which defeats the purpose of what the offside rule was even invented for. So it's the only thing where you've got such a great product. It's a product that is the best league in the world. Everybody from Asia to Africa to North America, they all want to watch it, and you sit there and think, right, how can we make this worse? And that's what they've done. How do we make this worse? How can we make there be fewer goals in this so it's less exciting? And
it's incredible, isn't it?
We're getting closer and closer to it being NFL.
Oh,
like
it's just terrible. I know, and it just
you wait for the VAR ad break to come in.
It's your VAR. It's your VAR check, sponsored by Walgreens.
I bet it's not far off.
You
heard it here first.
It is funny though, isn't it? Because you sort of, goal line technology is brilliant. Because remember, if it breaks one time, then you can survive relegation, and then eventually, a couple of years later, end up in the Champions League. I mean, what a ripple effect that was for Villa. So
they'll be voting. They'll be voting to keep it. Then, that's 1 out of 7. But do you think it will have the numbers? I don't think anyone's got the bottle. I think a handful will, and the rest of them who don't want to poke the bear too much. upset the status quo.
I reckon it'll be 5 or 6 vote to get rid of it, and the rest.
We're already on the front line of this, like for nonsense decisions and referees hating us. They're going to hate us even more next season.
That's very true. Yeah.
So,
however, what I would say is that the 3 teams that come up, if they've got any sense, will vote with Wolves. Because as soon as you get up, everybody knows that every 50-50 you have and every thing you have, like they're always going to side with the bigger side, aren't they? That's been our experience, certainly.
Every time Man United's keeper comes out and completely clatters your player in the box in the last minute, that it will just get waved off. Yeah,
exactly.
In there,
yeah, incredible. But yeah, I mean, it'd be really interesting to see what happens on June the 6th. I mean, the Premier League have sort of come out and said that it's not the way forward. But I mean, there's been so much dissatisfaction this season from all fans. It will be interesting to see how it turns out. Well, I think that is it for this week. I don't think we've got anything to add, have we? From memory. No? Excellent. Okay. Well, we'll say goodbye to Dan Bayliss.
Sorry if you are a balding middle-aged man. I love you really, as long as you're not a referee.
Excellent. Very good caveat. Backpedaling before the podcast ended. And it is a goodbye from Jack Williams.
Yeah, bye everybody.
And it's a goodbye from me. Goodbye.